Okay, so this time we're going to focus on the database monitoring. Okay, so uh, the term database monitoring, of course, refers to the task associated with examining the operational status of your database. Database monitoring is a vital activity for the maintenance of the performance and health of your database management system. And to facilitate monitoring, the database management system collects information from the database manager, its databases, and any connected application. With this information, you can perform the following type of tasks and more. You can forecast hardware requirements based on the database usage patterns. You can analyze the performance of individual applications or SQL queries. You can track the usage of indexes and tables. You can pinpoint the cause of poor system performance, and you can assess the impact of optimizing activities. Let's say, for example, altering database manager, configuration parameters, adding indexes, or modifying SQL services. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to present to you what's all about regarding SQL or Structured Query Language. Okay, since Sir Abante has already introduced our topic, let me share to you a brief introduction about Structured Query Language. It is a type of a computer language for storing, manipulating, and retrieving data in a relational database concept. SQL is an ANSI or American National Standard Institute standard, but there are many different versions of SQL languages or programming languages. SQL is used to communicate with database between the front-end developed software, and SQL stands for the back-end that stores obviously the data of our system. SQL are used to perform tasks such as create, alter, drop, insert, update, and delete, etc. inside our database. SQL can execute queries against a database. This line is one of the very most important function of an SQL pertaining to database, because every time we execute a command, we most commonly we use queries. SQL can retrieve data from a database. Obviously, it is because database is a data repository technology. So obviously, whenever we try to retrieve data, we always look for our database. SQL can create new tables, view, index, trigger, and cursor, etc. in the database. When a user wants to get information from a database, he can issue a query. As I was said earlier, every time we do a command in the SQL, we use a query. A query is a user request to retrieve data or information with a certain condition. SQL is a query language that allows user to specify the conditions. As the user specifies certain conditions, and the program will go through all the records in the database file and select those records that satisfies our query or searching the condition. The result of our query will then be stored in a form of a table. One of the overviews, we are allowed as users to access the data in a relational database format, management system format. Allows users to describe the data, allows user to define the data in database and manipulate also the data, allows user to create, view, stored procedure functions in a database, allows users to create and drop the databases and tables. SQL is a standard or a 4GL language used to manipulate data to retrieve from these relational databases. SQL enables a programmer or database administrator to do the following task: modify a database structure, query a database for information, update the information of a database, add user permissions on databases or tables, and change system security settings. One of first additional information regarding the overview of SQL is a data definition language, or we call DDL, is a part of SQL that allows a database user to create and structure its database object. One of the functions that can be done is to create. It creates a database, a new table, or a view a table, index, cursor, and trigger, or other object in a database. Alter or modify an existing database object, such as a table, view, and index, etc. Drop or deletes an entire table, view of a table, or other object in the database. Rename, used to renaming a table or view, or etc. Truncate, or used to delete a record permanently of a table. Second, data manipulation language, or DML, is a part of SQL used to manipulate data within objects of a relational database. One functions, insert. It is used to insert a record on a table, update, modification of records in a table, delete, used to remove records in a table. Third, DQL, or the data query language. A query language is a language in which a user requests information from a table. One of its function is select, used to retrieve certain records from one or more table. DCL, or data control language, SQL allow you to control access to data within the database. DCL normally used to create objects related to user access and also control the distribution of privileges among users. One example functions are grant. It is used to grant both system level and object level privileges to an existing database user account. Pardon for the spelling. Other function is revoke, to remove privileges that have been granted to database users. Fifth is TCL, or transaction control language. Commands are used to manage transactions in database. They are used to manage changes made by the DML statement. Functions, commit, used to permanently save any database transactions. Rollback, used restores and the database to the last committed state. Save point, used to temporarily save a transaction. Here are the popular SQL implementation based in the study. Structured query language is a special purpose programming language designed for managing data held in relational database management system, or RDBMS, or for stream processing in a relational data stream management system, or RDSMS. Implementations of SQL are available in the market, such as Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle SQL Plus, PL/SQL, MySQL, SQLite, and PostgreSQL. According to DB Engines, the most popular systems are Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL, PostgreSQL, and IBM DB2. ODBC, or the Open Database Connectivity, is a functional library designed to provide a common application programming interface, or API, to under the database systems. The driver uses standard SQL Server components for communicating from a client application to the database server. The driver manager is a very thin layer that manages the communication between the application and the ODBC drivers in which application works. The driver is a single DLL that responds to all calls the application makes to the ODBC API. The driver communicates with the server through SQL Server net libraries using SQL Server application level protocol, or such as called tabular data stream, or TDS. The DDL stands for data definition. The DDL, yes, is the data definition language, is a part of SQL that allows a database user, us, to create and structure database object. Storage structure and access methods used by the database system are specified by a set of definition in a special of DDL called a data storage and definition language. For example, how to create a database. Creates a new database and files used to store database, or attaches a database from files of a previously created database. Sample syntax is a create database and space the database name. For example, create database BABA, semicolon. SP help PDB reports information about specified database or all databases. SP underscore help DB reports on all database in a master DBO sys databases. Syntax SP underscore help DB space the database name, or SP help DB underscore help DB space BBA. How to rename or renaming a database. Since it is changes the name of the database. Syntax SP underscore rename DB space old name, comma, new name. This example changed the database from BABA to Babaswamy. For example, exec SP underscore S rename DB or Babaswamy underscore comma IST, for example. How to open database. Use the SQL use statement is used to select any existing database in the SQL schema. Then before starting operation, you would need to select the database where all operations will be performed. For example, use space the database name IST. How to drop the database. Removes one or more user database from an instance of SQL database server. Use in the drop statement for to remove an existing database. Syntax drop database space database name, or example drop space database space IST. Here are the data types in SQL. Data is collection of information stored in a database as one of the several different data types. Data types are used to provide rules for data for particular columns. A data type deals with the way values are stored in a column as far as length allocated for a column in a value such as alphanumeric, numeric, date, and time data are allowed. Example, characters or char, fixed length character string with user specified length with a character n. Varchar, variable length characteristic strings with user specified maximum length. Int, or for integer, a finite subset of integers that is machine dependent. Real double decimal, floating point and double precision floating point numbers with machine dependent precisions. Float, or a floating point number which with user specified precision of at least a number of digits. Date, or dates containing a 4-digit year, month, and date. Time of day in hours, minutes, and seconds. A table in SQL is a database object used to store a data, as we have discussed. Data in table is organized in rows and columns. Each row in a table represents a unique record, and each column represents an attribute. Column names within a table must be unique, but the same column name can be used in a different tables within our database. Naming rules for a table and columns. Table names and column names must begin with a letter and can be 1 to 30 characters long. Names must contain only characters A to Z, uppercase, lowercase, A to Z, numbers 0 to 9, and underscore. Names must not duplicate of the another object. Names must not be an SQL keywords and data type. This is on this view. This is how we create a table in SQL. Creating a basic table involves naming a table and defining its columns on each column's data. SQL create table command statement is used to create a new table. For example, a syntax create space table, your table name, field name, data type, size, field name 2, data type, size, comma, field name 3, data type, and size. Create table is a keyword telling the database system what you want to do. In this case, you want to create a table. Then in brackets, com is a list of defining each column in a table, what sort of data type it is. For example, create table student, stroll varchar 10, primary key, stem character 20, not null, sdef text, sage, age int, sfish float. sp underscore help, this command is used of all information, describe all information for databases of database objects, syntax sp underscore help, space the table name. For example, sp underscore help, space student. sp underscore columns to return all information details for columns on database tables. Syntax sp underscore columns, space table name. For example, sp underscore columns, space student. Another portion is how to modify the table. A table can be modified through the use of the alter table command, alter that table's creation. You can add columns, drop columns, change column definitions, add and drop constraints, adding another one or more columns for existing table. To add another column in an existing table, alter statement is used. For example, a syntax for this is alter space table name, space add, space column name, data type, size. For example, alter table student between those words have a spaces, then add space s phone space int or integer. On this part, it is how to modify existing columns. Modifying existing columns of a table, the length of the column can be increased to the maximum length of the given data type. The length of the column can be decreased only if the largest values for that column in the table. The length is less than or equal to the new length of the column. The number of digits for a number data type can always be increased. Our syntax, alter space table name, space alter space column, space old field name, space data type, and then size. For example, alter space table space student, space alter space column, space s phone space varchar, open close parentheses for the size is 11. Renaming a column to change the column of field names for a database object. Syntax sp underscore rename table space table dot old field or the table old field name, comma space the new field name, space the column. For example, sp underscore rename space the table name student.st underscore role, comma space for the new name role no comma column. Renaming a table to change the table names, syntax sp underscore rename space the old table name, comma new table name. For example, it is sp underscore rename student space ist comma space ist underscore student. Dropping a column, SQL drop column statement is used to remove a table definition and column permission specifications for the table. alter space table is for the syntax, alter space table name, space drop column command, space column name. For example, alter space table, space student, space drop column, space S phone. Truncating a table. Truncating is used to remove all records from a table and to release the storage space used by the table. You cannot roll back take note that you cannot roll back records removal upon applying the truncating command. The truncate command. For the syntax, truncate space table name. For example, truncate space table, space student. For dropping a table is actually one of the easiest things to do. When the restrict command option is used and the table is referenced by a view or constraint, the drop statement returns an error. When the cascade option is used, the drop success and referencing views and constraints are dropped. For the syntax, drop table command, space table, space restrict or cascade. For example, drop table, space student. On this portion, how to insert data values into the tables. After creating tables and table, the values are used to be inserted into the table. The SQL insert to statement or command is used to add new rows of data to a table in the database. There are two basic syntaxes of insert into statement as follows. Insert into table underscore name, then open close parenthesis, column 1, comma, column 2, comma, column n, space values command, space value 1, value 2, and value n. And then insert into table underscore name, values, value 1, value 2, value 3, and so on and so forth. The use of the insert command to insert a new row of a data into existing table in a table maximum of 1024 column with 78,092 bytes is allowed per row. For example, of a command, insert underscore into student values as displayed in the slide, 14D001, comma, AANI, comma, Kataka, comma, 20,500. Nasobra na po ng zero. In this portion on how to update the tables, the use of the update command to update one or more columns in existing row of a table, of the data in a table. The update statement is used to modify one or more rows of the table in a single table. The table owner has the right, or the admin, to update the rows and can transfer his right to another. Different values were closed according to our need. Fixing a constant value nowhere clause is used since it sets a default value to a specific column. Table can also be updated with an arithmetic expression. The updated values violate the data type on that column. No, if the updated values violate the data type on that column, the update fails and the changes are rolled back. Continuation, if you are updating a single row and you know the value of the primary key for the row you wish to update, specify the value using the optional where clause to improve the performance of the update command. If there is more than one primary key column, the values must be specified in order, separated by commas and parentheses. Columns that have string values must be enclosed in a single quote. This is the sample syntax. Update space table name, space set, space column name expression, then space where, and column name equals the condition. And with that, that's all, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so our presenter no discussed about the SQL no, and most probably no background of having background of an SQL is very important, specifically for database monitoring. No, database monitoring again offers the ability to gather essential database performance metrics to help optimize in-tune database processes for high performance. Database performance is essential in maintaining the performance of a system or application. In many cases, no, as low-performing applications or an unresponsive system indicates an underlying issue with the database performance. So, database performance issues can result from inefficiently coded SQL statement, no, flawed database structure, or suboptimal applications code reliant on the database. That's why our presenter discuss and share with us the details about SQL. Now, sometimes small inefficiencies accrued due to changes over time can also cause poor performance. No? And this emphasizes the needs to improve database performance continually. Generally, bad database performance can affect an organization's IT in two ways. Number one, application performance. Business application rely on a database system to perform online transaction processing, including orders, invoices, payrolls, and other processing needs. So an underperforming database leads to slower or no application response, which lead to bad user experience, loss of valuable productivity hours, and suboptimal revenue generation. Number two, of course, is the system outages. Okay? When a database becomes unreliable and responds too slowly, it can result in system outages. No? This completely disrupt business processes relying on it. So, monitoring to identify tuning and optimization opportunities is important because database monitoring can help you identify performance issues proactively and find optimization opportunities. Using this information, database administrator can tune a database for improved performance and responsiveness. Typically, now, database performance depends on different factors. Number one, it depends upon to the workload. This is the amount of activity a database system needs to perform, including batch processing, transaction processing, and administrative activity. So the amount of workload can vary depending on the business needs and may become unpredictable when application traffic spikes unexpectedly. Number two is the resources. Okay? A database relies on multiple hardware and software resources to perform various functions. Such resources include CPU, input-output capacity, the memory, the disk space, among others. So the availability and performance of these underlying resources can affect the overall database performance. Another is the optimization. No? Database performance relies on well-optimized queries. An efficiently formulated query can make a database system perform poorly and consume more resources than required ideally. Other optimization at the hardware and software level also influence database performance. And lastly, the contention. This occurs when two or more actions like an update or delete request concurrently try to manipulate the same data record or use the same resource. As what our presenter a while ago showcased with us, the different codes for the update and delete. No? This delays executing the action and result in reduced throughput, limiting the ability of the database to process more data or transaction. We need also to understand the difference between proactive and reactive approaches in database monitoring. Proactive monitoring helps identify issues before they affect end users or application in an organizations. Now, it's primarily focused on detecting performance abnormalities and utilization trends of the database. On the other hand, again, additionally, for proactive monitoring, it collects data from multiple sources that affect and depend on database performance. And this can include OS logs, database logs, application performance metrics, and others. And the collect data is processed using anomaly detection algorithms and machine learning algorithms to identify and predict performance problem. Accordingly, proactive monitoring helps database administrator to take preventative steps. On the other hand, when it comes to reactive approaches, no? Reactive monitoring focuses on reporting problems affecting end users or system performance in real time. Generally, it gives a real-time view of the database performance as it is happening. And this monitoring technique is usually less resource intensive. With reactive monitoring, database administration can only address observable performance issues already affecting end users. And ideally, an organization should rely on proactive and reactive monitoring techniques to leverage the benefits and gain more in-depth performance insight. In addition, regularly conducting a database performance test is essential to assess performance. So, there are two ways to monitor operating system in your database. You can view information that shows the state of various aspects of the database at a specific point in time. Or you can set up event monitors to capture historical information as specific types of database events takes place. Monitor elements are data structure used to store information about a particular aspect of the database system status. Let's say, for example, the monitor element of direct underscore reads reflect the number of read operations that take place that are performed directly from disk rather than from any buffer pool. Monitor elements can help you to understand and tune database server workloads that involves queries against columnized or column organized tables. Now, the monitor interfaces provide most of the information that you required to monitor workloads that involve queries against column organized tables. Then again, although, because our presenter mentioned about the MySQL, no, I just want to add, no, there are some best practices for proactive database performance monitoring. Database monitoring is a critical part of any application's maintenance. No? Finding database issues in the time can help the applications remain healthy and accessible. Without solid monitoring in place, database outage can go unnoticed until it's too late and the business is losing money in customers. At ayaw natin mangyari yon. Like any operational monitoring, databases can be proactively or reactively monitored. With proactive monitoring favored by most people, proactive monitoring seeks to identify many issues before they become major problems. It's done by looking at database metrics and altering teams or individuals when values are abnormal. So, reactive database monitoring is done after an incident occurs. It's usually done for security breach, investigation, performance, troubleshooting, or major incident reporting. Again, as I mentioned, no, there are some base takeaways that are applicable to any database. This will be the best practices that I could share for proactively monitoring database performance. Number one, monitor availability and resource consumption. Of course. Number two, measure and compare throughput. Number three, monitor expensive queries. Number four, track database changes. And number five, monitor logs. Now, there is no specific order of implementation for these best practices. Organization can start from anywhere. The ultimate goal should be to bring everything under monitoring. Something is better than nothing. An ounce of prevention now may help avert a major outage later. If you are familiar with OWS, no? OWS hosted infrastructure, no? Database monitoring should be aligned with the broader resource monitoring strategy at some stage. They put together a guide of 4 stages of successful OWS resource monitoring that you can follow. Industry leaders like SolarWinds can offer best of breed tools for the enterprise monitoring needs. Meron tayong App Optics, also a great tool for database infrastructure and application monitoring. While Logly is greatly for log management, and both applications are interoperable with each other to see how Logly can help monitor database. And of course, I think that's it for this discussion. Okay, so